Thousands of veterans are told, that a 100% VA rating is the absolute ceiling. But what if there's actually a ladder above it, one paying up to $11,000 a month tax-free, and the VA just sort of forgot to tell you?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Veterans Briefing. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a huge stack of sources, VA regulatory documents, caregiver testimonies, legal case studies, all to uncover this massive blind spot in veteran benefits. We're exploring something called Special Monthly Compensation, or SMC.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And by the end of our discussion today, you're going to understand a fundamental shift in how the VA actually looks at your compensation. Because if you look at standard disability ratings, that familiar 10 to 100% scale, that system is entirely designed to pay you for your lost ability to work.
Right, the economic impact.
Exactly. But SMC is entirely different. It pays you for your lost ability to live your life. And our mission today is to really break down exactly how the system functions so you can find out if you, or maybe a veteran, are actually owed thousands of dollars in retroactive pay. Okay, so let's unpack the financial reality of this first, because, the numbers in these documents are frankly staggering. A standard 100% rating pays a little under $4,000 a month.
Right.
But if we look at the top rate of SMC, it pays $11,271 a month.
It's a massive financial gap. I mean, it's life-changing money.
So just logically speaking, we could realistically have two veterans living on the exact same street. They served in the same conflict, sustained the exact same physical and mental injuries. One gets his standard 100% check, and the other is getting, thousands of dollars more every single month.
$2,000, $4,000, maybe even $7,000 more.
Yeah, exactly. And the only difference is that somebody told that second veteran that the pay chart doesn't actually stop at 100%.
It's like finding out there's a rank above Sergeant Major, but, nobody bothered to mention it at your last formation. Most veterans are firmly, almost rigidly taught that 100% is the finish line.
You fight the VA, hit the mark, and you're done.
Right. You breathe a sigh of relief. But what our sources make incredibly clear is that 100% isn't the ceiling at all. It's actually the floor. And there's this really complex ladder built right on top of it.
And here is where it gets really interesting and honestly incredibly frustrating. Looking through these legal documents, SMC is supposed to be what the VA calls an inferred benefit.
Right. Inferred.
Which essentially means you aren't even supposed to have to explicitly ask for it, right? The VA is legally required to check your file and award it automatically if the evidence shows you qualify. So I have to push back here and ask, if this is an inferred benefit that the government is legally required to check for, why are so many veterans slipping through the cracks?
Well, it's a great question. And the answer really comes down to the brutal reality of the bureaucratic system. Think of the VA rating system like an old-school telephone switchboard.
Okay, switchboard.
Yeah, if you don't explicitly plug the wire into the SMC jack, even if all the red lights on the board are flashing to show the veteran needs help, the operator, or the VA rater in this case, just moves on to the next call.
Just because they're overwhelmed.
Completely overwhelmed. I mean, VA raters are human beings trying to hit strict production quotas. They're dealing with incredibly thick medical files, sometimes hundreds or even thousands of pages long for a single veteran.
Wow.
And the harsh truth is, nobody is strictly grading their homework on this every single time, to ensure they paused and inferred a benefit you didn't explicitly claim on your initial paperwork.
Right, because the regulations are so complex.
Notoriously complex. Even experienced veteran service officers can get lost in the legal jargon. So when you combine a stressed human rater with a dizzyingly complex set of rules, mistakes happen.
Which means there are veterans listening right now who've qualified for years, whose spouses are helping them shower every morning, and they are owed money the law explicitly says is theirs. But nobody is coming to knock on their door to hand it to them.
Until today. So we need to walk up this ladder, one rung at a time, and translate this regulatory jargon into plain English.
Okay, let's do it.
If we look at the history in these documents, Congress looked at the standard rating schedule, which, again, is built around earning a living, and they realized that a simple percentage doesn't capture certain harsh realities.
Like physical losses.
Right. Losing the use of a hand, losing your eyesight, or needing another human being to help you bathe. A paycheck number doesn't fully describe that profound loss of independence. So they built the SMC ladder to compensate for it.
And the rungs of this ladder are denoted by letters. Based on the sources, we're going to focus on the three rungs that apply to the vast majority of veterans. Those are K, S, and L.
And a quick tip for everyone listening. Don't try to make sense of why they started with the letter K. Just embrace the administrative chaos.
Good to know. So if the 100% rating is actually a floor, what is the very first step on this ladder? Let's start with SMC-K.
SMC-K is the most common and easily attainable rung. It pays about $140 a month. Now, the absolute key phrase to remember here is that it stacks.
Stacks, meaning on top of what you already get.
Exactly. It's added on top of whatever rating you already have. You could be at 10%, 60%, 100%. It doesn't matter. SMC-K stacks right on top of it.
Okay, so what exactly triggers SMC-K? What is it actually for?
It's awarded for the loss or loss of use of certain body parts and functions. We're talking about the physical loss or the functional loss of use of a hand or a foot, blindness in one eye, deafness in both ears, the loss of a reproductive organ, or, for women veterans, the loss of breast tissue.
And there is a crucial example in the research here that we really need to highlight because it affects a massive portion of the veteran community, but almost no one talks about it. And that is erectile dysfunction or female sexual arousal dysfunction.
Yes, absolutely. If that dysfunction is connected to your military service, it qualifies for SMC-K.
And reading through these medical case studies, the kicker here is that this includes ED caused by PTSD medications. Wait, you mentioned SSRIs in your notes. Just to clarify for everyone listening, those are common antidepressants prescribed for PTSD, right?
Yes, they are.
Why do those specific medications trigger this benefit?
This is such a critical point. The side effects of mental health medications, particularly SSRIs used for PTSD and depression, they are incredibly well documented. They alter brain chemistry in a way that often suppresses sexual function.
Right.
So ED is sitting right there in the medication side effect list of thousands of veterans. The VA literally has a diagnostic line item for it. Medical providers hear about it all the time.
But the veterans themselves don't claim it.
Because nobody wants to raise their hand for that.
Yeah.
It is a profoundly uncomfortable conversation. I mean, most veterans would rather do another grueling deployment than sit in a sterile office and admit to that specific side effect.
But your dignity in this case is costing the government $140 a month.
Literally.
If you're finding these discussions helpful, please subscribe to Veterans Briefing so you never miss important updates and practical information for veterans and their families.
And look, going back to that $140 a month, it might not sound like life-changing money to some, but that's roughly $1,700 a year.
Every year, forever.
Tax-free. For a condition that is already sitting documented in your VA medical record, so just take the money.
And what almost nobody realizes, which is totally buried in the regulations, is that you aren't limited to just one.
Right. You can receive up to 3 separate SMC-K awards at the same time for different qualifying losses. That is 3 separate add-ons every single month.
Wow. So to wrap up that first rung, if any of those physical conditions sound like your situation, that is a claim for SMC-K.
Yes.
But what happens when those injuries don't just affect a single limb or function, but literally trap a veteran inside their own home? Let's move up to the next rung, SMC-S.
Yeah, SMC-S is where we shift from specific physical losses to broader impacts on your household. It pays a few $100s above the standard 100% rate.
Right.
And there are 2 totally different doors you can walk through to qualify for this.
And one of them requires absolutely no extra doctor visits.
Exactly. But let's start with door number 1. Door number 1 is being physically housebound.
Meaning you literally can't leave.
Yes. Your service-connected conditions keep you substantially confined to your home. And to be clear, the legal definition here doesn't mean, well, I prefer to stay in my recliner because I don't like crowds. It means you are genuinely medically unable to leave your home except for essential things like medical appointments.
Okay, but looking at the regulatory documents, door number 2 is the one that blows people's minds because it has nothing to do with being trapped in your house. It is pure math.
Pure math. It really is. The VA already has the numbers in their system. Door number 2 states that if you have one single condition that is rated at 100% all by itself, plus separate service-connected conditions that combine to 60% or more, you automatically qualify for SMC-S on paper.
Hold on, you're telling me this is purely a math equation that makes no logical sense. Why would the VA build a system that rewards the paperwork arrangement rather than the physical reality of the veteran?
Because bureaucracy.
Wait, so under door 2, a veteran could physically be out coaching Little League on a Tuesday afternoon, but because their paperwork hits 100% plus 60%, they qualify automatically for a housebound benefit, and they might be owed retroactive back pay.
That is exactly how it works.
Yeah.
And to understand why, you really have to understand the VA. They created this math loophole as an administrative shortcut.
A shortcut?
Yeah. The logic is that if a veteran is so severely disabled that they have a single 100% condition, and then they also have a whole host of other conditions adding up to 60%, The VA is just going to administratively concede that they are essentially housebound, without making them prove it physically. It is strictly about how your ratings are arranged on your paperwork.
Okay, but getting to that 60% with VA math is notoriously weird, right? Because they don't just add 10 plus 10.
Oh, definitely not. VA math uses the whole person theory. If you are 50% disabled, the VA says you're 50% healthy. If you get another 50% rating, they don't add 50 plus 50 to get 100.
They take a percentage of what's left.
Exactly. They take 50% of your remaining healthy half, which is 25. So 50 plus 50 equals 75 in VA math. It is very hard to build up to a combined 60% rating.
Right.
But a veteran could have a 100% rating for severe PTSD and then a stack of physical ratings, knees, back, hearing loss, that mathematically combine to 60%.
And if they hit that math?
If they hit that math, they qualify.
Yeah.
And they've likely never received a dime of the SMC-S pay they're entitled to because nobody at the VA connected the dots to infer the benefit.
The switchboard operator missed the flashing lights.
Exactly. This is why you need to physically pull out your rating letter and look at it. Ask yourself, do I have one condition rated at 100% by itself?
And if yes?
If yes, do my other conditions mathematically combine to 60%? Yeah. If the answer is yes, you might have been owed this level for years, and it can sometimes be claimed retroactively.
That is incredible. Okay, so we've got the math loophole, but what happens when the physical reality goes beyond just being stuck at home and someone actually needs daily help to survive? Let's elevate the conversation to the most misunderstood tier in the entire VA system, SMC-L, which is also known as aid and attendance.
This is the big one. SMC-L pays roughly $1,000 a month over the standard 100% rate. But before we explain the mechanics of what it is, we have to bust a massive, deeply damaging myth that prevents thousands from applying.
Yeah, it's everywhere in the veteran community.
You do not have to be bed-bound to qualify for aid and attendance. You do not have to be in a wheelchair. You do not have to be in a nursing home. And you don't have to be hooked up to life support machines.
That myth alone has robbed so many veterans of benefits they earned. People look at the words aid and attendance and they immediately picture a hospice scenario. They think, well, I can still walk to the kitchen to get a glass of water, so I clearly don't qualify.
It's the biggest lie in this space. Here is what aid and attendance actually means in plain human words, according to the regulations. You regularly need another person's help or supervision with the basic activities of daily living. That's it.
Let's make that real for the listeners. What do activities of daily living actually look like inside a home?
It looks like your spouse helping you in and out of the shower or standing by because you have a severe history of falling. It looks like someone helping you get dressed, managing your shoes, buttons, sleeves, pants, just because your shoulders, back, or hands won't cooperate anymore.
Right.
It's someone managing your medications, laying them out, and reminding you to take them, or adjusting your brace or prosthetic for you.
And the sources emphasize this isn't just physical.
Exactly. And this is incredibly important. Aid and attendance means you cannot safely be left alone because of seizures, blackouts, falls, or severe PTSD, memory issues, or traumatic brain injury symptoms.
So cognitive and mental health factors in too.
Absolutely. If your mental health condition means you need supervision or reminders just to function safely day to day, that counts. The regulation doesn't care what medical category the help falls under. It cares about the reality of the physical or mental help you need to survive your day.
You know, I was reading through the caregiver testimonies we gathered for this deep dive, and one story really stopped me in my tracks. It was about a veteran named Walt and his wife, Deb. I know you've got the case notes there.
Yeah, Walt's story is textbook for how this goes wrong. Walt was a combat engineer in Iraq. His job was route clearance, which means his daily job was to intentionally drive towards the IEDs.
Wow.
He survived 2 blasts. He came home with a traumatic brain injury, a spine fused in 2 places, severe PTSD, and severe balance issues. By 2011, Walt was rated 100% permanent and total line.
And like most veterans, Walt, his wife Deb, and their service officer figured that was the end of the road, top of the mountain, nothing more to claim.
But let's look at what a standard morning actually looked like at Walt's house. Deb would wake up first. She'd lay out Walt's pills because ever since the TBI, Walt accidentally double-dosed once, and they just couldn't risk it again.
Makes sense.
Then she would go sit on the edge of the bathtub while he showered every single time because he had a bad fall a few years prior. After that, she'd help him with his socks and shoes because his fused spine wouldn't let him bend over. She did all the driving. And on the really bad PTSD days, she stayed close to monitor him, ensuring he wasn't left alone.
That is wild. 10 years of that. Deb was a full-time care provider for over a decade, unpaid, untrained, unrecognized. If they had hired out that level of daily in-home care, It would have cost thousands of dollars a month.
Oh, easily.
She did it out of love for free, while everyone in the VA system told them there was nothing left to claim.
Until eventually, a medical professional reviewed Walt's file and asked Deb a simple question. They said, "Can you walk me through Walt's morning?" She talked for just 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
And it was immediately obvious to the provider that this was a textbook aid in attendance case. It had been for 10 years. They finally got the proper VA exam form completed, explicitly documenting the help Walt needed. Walt was granted SMC-L, adding roughly $1,000 a month to his compensation.
But the most profound part of this story isn't the money. When the award letter came in the mail, Deb didn't mention the financial relief first. Her reaction was, "It's the first time anyone put on paper what I do."
That is the heart of SMC. It is not a loophole. It is not gaming the system. Congress built these levels because they knew a sterile percentage couldn't capture the reality inside a house like Walt and Deb's. The benefit exists specifically because situations like theirs exist.
Which brings us to the elephant in the room. A major reason veterans miss this isn't just bad paperwork, right? It's pride. Refusing to document that your spouse helps you dress feels like surrender to someone trained to never surrender.
Absolutely. It is a massive psychological barrier. Admitting you need help goes against everything instilled in you during your military service. But you have to hear this, that help is already happening.
Right.
Refusing to document it on a VA form doesn't actually make you more independent. It just leaves your family uncompensated for the heavy lifting they are already doing.
So how do we actually fix this? If the VA isn't inferring it automatically, how does a veteran force the issue to claim what's theirs?
You have to take control of the narrative because standard C&P exams often fail miserably here.
And for listeners who haven't been through it, a standard C&T exam, compensation and pension exam, is essentially the VA's medical audit of your body, right? It's a doctor checking your range of motion or asking about your symptoms. So why is that medical audit failing to catch this need for aid and attendance?
Because standard C&P exams are asking the wrong questions entirely. The examiners focus entirely on clinical data. They're measuring the flexion of your knee with a protractor. They're asking about your depressed mood over the last month. But they almost never stop and ask the human question, who helps you put your shirt on in the morning?
And if that daily need never makes it into the official medical record, the VA rater can't infer it. They can't grant a benefit based on evidence that doesn't exist in the file.
Precisely. The switchboard has no flashing light. So there are 3 practical steps to claim aid in attendance. Step 1 is the exam form. There is a specific VA form called the Aid in Attendance Examination.
Okay.
This must be filled out by a medical provider. But it can't just be a quick 8-minute appointment where they check a few boxes. It has to be filled out by a provider who actually takes the time to listen to your daily reality and accurately captures what help you need day to day. Your claim lives or dies based on how completely this form is filled out.
And step 2 is the household statement, which seems to be the secret weapon here.
This is incredibly powerful. The household statement is essentially lay evidence. It's a written account from the person who actually provides the care, so your spouse, your child, your caregiver. They just need to describe a typical day. It's Deb's 4-minute explanation put on paper. It provides the human context that clinical medical records often miss, and it costs nothing to do.
Step 3 is simply submitting the claim. You submit the completed ANA exam form along with the household statement.
And remember, if you realize your current rating letter already fits the SMC-S door to math loophole, the 100% rating plus 60%, you need to raise that issue as well and specifically ask about back pay.
Let's recap the top 3 takeaways from today's deep dive into these sources. Number 1, a 100% rating is the floor, not the ceiling. There is a ladder above it, and you need to know where you stand.
Number 2, check your rating letters tonight for the SMC-S door to math loophole. Look for 100% rating plus 60% in mathematically combined separate ratings.
And number 3, aid in attendance is not just for the bedbound or those in nursing homes. It is about needing daily help with living your life, and that includes requiring supervision for mental health conditions, PTSD, or TBI.
It's about recognizing the unpaid caregivers who keep your life running.
Which leads to your one practical action, your homework for today. I want you to go to the person you live with, the person who supports you, and ask them one simple question. What do you do for me every day?
Ask the question, and then actually sit in silence and listen to the answer. The answer might surprise you, and it might just be the basis of your SMC claim.
Before we go, I want to leave you with a provocative thought. We've talked a lot about overwhelmed raters missing inferred benefits. It really makes you wonder how many other hidden inferred benefits are buried in decades-old VA regulations, just waiting for a veteran to ask the exact right question. It's something to think about. We want to hear from you on this. Please share your experiences with VA claims or any questions you have about special monthly compensation in the comments below. We read them, and it helps the whole community learn.
And as always, please verify current eligibility requirements and forms through official VA sources or your accredited representative.
Thank you for watching Veterans Briefing. Take care, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next episode.